But you can see how my experience in Las Vegas had made it important for us to go to Boston. And the reason I'm going over this is not so much to give you our history, but to make a point to all of us that are here today, part of this industry of ours that meets challenges that are new and unexpected every day, that it's always been that the non-casino story was the story. It was never the slot machines. They've been everywhere for centuries. Nobody gave that much of a damn about them unless they were hooked on a slot machine. And with all deference to Bally and the rest of the companies, you know what I mean. The machines have no power unto themselves. A roulette table is a roulette table anywhere on earth. It's just a table with a thing that wheels around. What's a baccarat table but 4 legs and a green felt and some cards? They're all the same. There's no chance for differentiation. And today in 37 or so states in America, you can get in a car, you don't need an airplane, and within an hour and a half be at a gambling table. From Bangor, Maine to Phoenix, from Miami to Seattle, an hour and a half and you're in a slot machine. And you're as vulnerable as the next guy that has another slot machine a little closer to your customer. And that spells trouble with a capital T. So, it's about something else, huh? It's about things that give people a chance to live big. That's what they come here for. That's what they want. It's what they want in Mississippi. It's what they want in Louisiana, Illinois, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. And if you give it to them, you're going to be okay. And if you forget it, you're just a passenger on a bumpy road of economic cycles. And you're just as good as until the next guy opens up down the street. And I don't like that. I don't like any business where all you got to sell is price. It's a fool's game. You got to give people something they're willing to pay for. You got to give people something they're willing to get on an airplane and submit to a body search for. And that ain't a slot machine, friends. And it sure as hell ain't a baccarat table. Why do all the Chinese guys come here for Golden Week and Chinese New Year when they could go closer to Macau? Because Las Vegas has given them something special. A wonderful menu of entertainment and shopping and dining, as good as any city in the world. And as long as we keep our eye on that ball, we're going to be fine. And that leads me, now that I've told you everything I know, if you expected much more, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but on the other hand, I didn't get paid a dime for this speech. So we're even. Look, they say, the Chinese people gamble more than everybody else in the world. No, they don't. Somebody else gambles more than anybody in the world, and I'm going to tell you who they are. The lady that I spent 49 years with in my life, my wife Elaine, and I, our fathers, her dad's name was Sonny Pascal, and my dad's name was Mike Wynn. Both of these guys were born of parents who were first to come to America from the old country. My parents were first generation Americans. Their folks came in the great wave of immigration from Europe between 1880 and 1900. They came to this country impoverished, and they made their way in sweatshops and whatever else they could do through the first decade of the last century. Got enough footing to get married and have children just before World War I. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin were born in 1915. My mother and father were born in 1916. My dad's mother died when he was a baby in an influenza epidemic. His father was a vaudevillian, and he put him in a foster home in Revere, Massachusetts, and paid money every month for my father to be brought up in a foster home, a nice home. My mother was born and lived from the time she was a baby all her life with her mother. All families were first, from the old country. Neither mother or father graduated high school. went to work when they were 15 or 16. That generation of Elaine's parents, my parents, they and their children didn't see a good day. They came of age in 1932 and 1933, smack into the Great Depression. Roosevelt convinced them that he was going to help them, and they became Democrats. They hadn't seen a good day. If they didn't go to war and get killed, they survived World War II. They came of age in their 30s in 1945 and 1946 and bumped into the greatest period of expansion economically and opportunity in America in history. And they started to make money for the first time in the history of their families. And they had this pent-up demand for the good life. And the good life in the 50s was a mink stole, a diamond ring, a Cadillac, and maybe a trip to Las Vegas. Go to the Copacabana and see Frank Sinatra or Sammy Davis Jr. That was the good life. And they had heard about it. Their parents had talked about it. They had never got close to it. But all of a sudden, after World War II, they were getting and making their own money on their own wits. There's a funny thing about people that make their own money for the first time. They have an attitude towards money that's different. Hell, I made this money myself, and I'll spend it as I damn please. And these people have a tremendous pent-up demand to live big and enjoy the things they've only heard about and dreamt of all their lives. Things that their parents never knew. And so first-generation wealth has a great tendency towards consumer spending because of this pent-up demand. Does that make sense to you? It's the story of my family, of so many families. The war babies, the baby boomers. And what happens? Look at China through that prism, and you will see there is no old money in China. Everything is 40 years since Deng Xiaoping. Modern China is all new wealth, and they're creating millionaires there about once every 90 seconds, truly. And they want the good life. And casinos are coming to Las Vegas. Got a Rolex store in the Wynn, Macau, that's 700 or 800 square feet, does $150,000 a day. And in Zhuhai, on the other side of the border, you can get a copy of one of these for 1 penny on $1. And it looks exactly the same. But they don't want the Lindy. They want the real thing. They want the Birka bag. They want the Kelly bag. They don't want the copy. That's the aspect of new wealth. When folks break out of poverty and have their moment. And that's the explanation of what's going on in China. It's also the explanation of Brazil and Mexico and Chile. That's what's going on in the world. The emerging nations are breaking out, and people getting into the middle class and above. And they want to travel, and they want to see everything. And the global economy and modern transportation has made it all possible. And more importantly, because of the communications revolution that we've all experienced, everybody knows what's going on everywhere else. And they want in on it. And that's why this town, everybody said, that if they ever have gambling in California, Las Vegas is all finished. Not so fast. Not so fast, Rodriguez, not so fast. Because the infrastructure, the menu, the choices of this place made it somewhat invulnerable to change. And the only constant in our life today is change, right? So the question is, for those of us who are in the room and going to hear all the consultants, and tomorrow you'll get it from the man himself, Mr. Adelson. The only thing that's for sure is change. And you got to use your brain to figure out what's really happening. If you do that, you're probably safe. Now, I'm 72 years old, and I'm feeling pretty safe these days. And I like to have everybody feel the way I do. So that's pretty much all I got to say. I hope the points I've made make sense. But you know, every time that you try and think of what it is you could say to a large group of people that are your peer group in the industry that we share, most important thing is, can you say something that makes sense, that might be helpful?